Good evening. It's another episode.
Gotta be perfect, you just gotta get started. Don't overthink it. Just go where your heart is, turn your dreams and your goals. Let your goals shape how you live. Success is inevitable if you're willing to give up your old self to become someone new, to be the true you. Never be afraid to do you in front of the critics, sideline judges, non-believers, people holding their grudges. Appreciate the hate. It comes with the winning. When your wise bigger than money, you're unstoppable from the beginning. Your excuses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produces. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. I should have said this first. Teamwork always makes the dream work. Teamwork always makes the dream work.
Good evening. We are here for another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. You just have to get started. And we are live here with my big brother today, and we have something special for you. You know, every episode we try to make sure that we're giving you some people that really have made it in the world, right? Have become successful, have found their niche, has found their place, and can give you a jewel that will push you forward. So today, you know, with the S on his chest, I don't know if you can see it, but we got, Superman, Dr. Joe White. Dr. Joe, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, Paz. Man, I'm always gonna come out, show up for you. You my main man.
Oh man, you have been doing some amazing work, across the board. And I really want people to understand that you have made impacts, not in one or two industries, but you've actually been influential across many different industries in being a consultant, pushing people forward, and really doing some amazing things, not just for the Black community, because we get caught sometimes getting caught up in skin color, but for the business world in general. So, Dr. Joe, why don't you tell them actually how you became, right, Dr. Joe White, right? How did you get your doctorate?
So I had written a book about real estate, and I was teaching real estate across the country. I was one of the first Afro Americans to teach real estate at that particular time, and I happened to be doing so much work, so much great work in the community that a college, the Oral Robertson University in Temple Hills, Maryland, said we want you to do our college commencement. And when you do a college commencement, they give you what's called a doctorate of humane letters, which is an honorary doctorate. You see it given to presidents, celebrities, famous people across the world. So that's when, at that particular time, they gave me that particular doctorate. I was honored, grateful, and hey, I'm still using it to this day.
Hey, and that's amazing, right? To be a pioneer, but you've been pioneering a couple of things, because you've also owned, built, and sold your own franchise in the past. So,
Yeah.
what was that experience like? What was an experience like, first of all, to start a franchise, to build it, and to have an exit strategy enough to be able to sell off?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was getting started in a way too. I was running a transportation company, a mental health company, and I was still doing real estate. They were all multi-million dollar businesses. And I went to CEO space where you and I later met in order to learn how to build out the franchise and build that business and then sell it. I went there, I was able to learn, meet a lot of great mentors, and able to go off and build a company, sell the company, and then come back and work as a mentor to other people. That's kind of where you and I met and connected and been friends ever since. But there was so many amazing people in that environment that you would get a chance to connect with, that I'm lifelong friends with, you're lifelong friends with, and we still pour into each other's lives to today.
Yes, sir. God rest his soul. Thank you, Bernie Dorman, right,
Most
for
definitely.
creating
We
that
definitely miss him.
space. He's definitely missed. If one of the things that the world will never get again is to be able to have their dream Bernie sized,
Mm.
right? I used to always say you can have somebody supersize your McDonald's, but ain't nothing like when Bernie sized your dream, right?
Mm.
Like it, and he was just so great at it, But I think.
I don't know if I froze or you froze. Pass. But anyway, if everybody can still hear me. So Bernie Dorman was the founder of CEO Space International, which at the time was the largest business conference in the world. And, we all had a chance for Bernie to be our mentor. And one of the things about Bernie is, he would make you raise your ceiling from like millions to multi-millions to 100 million. And that was scary to me at the time. And, one of the things passed that changed my life is when Bernie passed, where I could normally bring him clients that were on that level. Um, I had to step up to that level. And that was definitely marked some of the time, or one of the time that I really started to transform to go up to a whole nother degree of consulting and working with some of the top people in the world. One of the things that I was thinking, I was telling somebody today, which is really crazy. I grew up in a middle class home, mom and dad. Dad was a preacher, mom was a teacher. Today, I have 4 billionaires in my phone that I can call and personally talk to and reach out to. I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's pretty much nobody I can't that's not in my network. Presidents, I mean, right now is national, but it's starting to go global. I'm humble and grateful for that because I have that. But it's just been amazing the journey that I've been on. I mean, I've had a chance to work on presidential campaigns, U.S. Senate campaigns, working with celebrities, working with some names that people know that are household names. And I mean, I was just telling Paz about a big event I'm working on now that's top secret. I can't talk about it for another week or so, but I mean, it's one of the biggest names in the world. And so for me to have that opportunity is I'm super grateful, man. And I'm learning and growing every day, and I'm staying humble. I always say that my job is I work behind the scenes with the people that change the world. So I'm not the upfront man. Don't care to be. You'll see me pop out every once in a while, say a few things, give a few nuggets. But I'm really working with those people that change the world to help them be able to achieve their goals and their dreams and change things in everybody's life. Pass, you still there? I know you freezing up. So anyway, so when Paz said, "Hey, listen, man, I want you to come on the podcast," I was hesitant at first because, again, I don't just pop out and like to do interviews and just talk and then tell what I'm doing. I normally like to have something to promote, or I like to be promoting a brand I'm working on. Some of the brands that I have been working on is, if you guys check out ronisleyliquidgold.com, it's a brandy, it's a liquor company. It's founded by myself, or I won't put my name first, but it's founded by Ron Isley, the legendary singer, his wife, myself, and several other partners. But it's an amazing brandy. And one of the things that I made sure that we did, or we always made sure, or maybe it's Ron's genius that did it, is making sure we created a quality, super quality product before we worried about just having a celebrity brand. And as I'm working with celebrities, that's one of the first things I tell them. Listen, having your name attached does bring attention, brings awareness. But what's really important is having a quality product that you can be proud of, stand behind, that the public wants, and then let's put the celebrity name behind it. Then let's let the celebrity name go through and push it out. But it has to be a quality product because it's got to stand its test of time. There's a lot of celebrities that have out liquor brands and the brands don't taste good, or it's not a brand that people want. But they'll get awareness, they'll get attraction for a short period of time, and then it'll fizzle out. For me, I'm a strategist at heart, so I'm always trying to help people build businesses to stand the test of time. The label will sell, the label will go public, the label will grow. Or again, like I said, I'm running political campaigns. I'm going to be working on a campaign for a governor. I won't name who's running for governor coming up. I'm going to be working on another U.S. Senate campaign. But again, I'm always strategizing to work with people who are making big change. But they all have to be quality people. They all have to have a quality product. The other thing too that a lot of the people that I work with have in common, there's normally some challenge in the midst of the whole business, and I need to be, it's a specialized skill that I think I have that where I work with those people. So, with some of the artists I deal with are legacy artists. They're older artists that maybe had their peak in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. And what happens is they didn't have the benefit of coming in during the social media era. So these artists now can use social media to build and flourish and make their business flourish. But a lot of the artists that I work with didn't have that opportunity. And so they make their money primarily off concerts and shows and things like that. So what I'm always looking to do is build a business model that can make money separate from their talent. And so there's so many people I work with, even to the point where I had talked to some representatives from Frankie Beverly right before he died. I'm always in the midst of working with these legacy artists, which I really enjoy. I love their spirit, I love their energy, and I love helping them transform and change and see that they can have a business separate from just their work as artists. Pass you back, man. I'm just rambling because you were gone, so
No,
I just ramble
it,
on.
oh, you weren't rambling. I could hear you. I
Okay.
could see you. But it's so technology is so crazy that it would not allow me to connect. But that's why we have multiple devices, right? Because with multiple devices, we come right back. So yeah, you were, and that's why you don't have to be perfect, right? You just have to get started. And you weren't rambling. You were actually giving them some real good jewels. Some of the things that I was going to ask you anyway. So I want to go back. And because you touched on a couple of things that I don't want to gloss over. So you have your hands in a number of industries as a consultant. And one of the things that you said is that they have to be quality people. you know so what do you see as a quality person when you're choosing your candidate, I mean your clients? Because you're in a position now where you don't have to just take any client, right? You actually get to choose your clientele. So what is it that makes a client someone that you would be attractive to work with?
So the project has to have what I call impact. It has to make a large impact on the world at this particular point. Because a lot of times I don't even work for money, I work for equity. So if I'm working on a major project, a lot of times, and it's not a political project, I'm looking to come in as a part owner for the work and what I'm putting into the actual project. So I've got to enjoy working with the person, feel comfortable working with the person, realize the project is going to have a major impact on the American marketplace or the international marketplace. And it has to be a product that I believe in. Nobody does well if you don't believe in what you're doing. So I've got to believe in the product with the branding. And I always go back to Ron because Ron's a notable figure. And some people I can talk about, some people I can't. But the brandy is such a great tasting product. It's made by Vanessa Braxton, who was the first Black woman distiller in the United States. She does a phenomenal job.
My big sister.
It's smooth. There's no aggression. There's no bite. There's a hint of vanilla, slightly sweet. And everybody who tastes the product goes, wow. So that something like that is what attracts me, or like I got my cousin Curl who's there. She said, hi, cuz. She has an amazing product. She does these custom glasses that she doesn't do more than like 20, 30 pairs. So when you get a pair, you're not going to see anybody else with a pair like what you have. And she's been doing fashion shows all around the world, but she has a great quality product, something like that. That's going to have an impact. And I can go on and on and on.
I love it. I love it because you put your hands in a bunch of different things. Like at one point, you were working even with the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I love you. Are you allowed to talk about that? Because I know a lot of things
Yeah.
you do at a high level and you can't tell us. So
Yeah.
I'd love you to talk about your experience with the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So yeah, I worked with the boxers. The Boxing Hall of Fame was pretty much almost every heavyweight champion of the world, and I would help handle their entrepreneur ventures. And so I would help them. They would do an annual conference, but at the same time, we were working on a restaurant. We were working on a mobile museum and a lot of different projects for the actual boxers. They would come to me with advice to help them work on different projects and things like that that are in the entrepreneur realm. Also worked with Johnny Buss, owner of the Lakers, on his presidential campaign. Again, going back to that impact and things that changed the world. What I loved about Johnny was, one, he's a humble, sweet spirit. Secondly, I love that when he was doing his presidential campaign, he did something called Here in America, where he went around the country in a bus and he just listened to what Americans feel is wrong with the country. And even though I didn't feel like it was his time to win, I did feel like what he was doing was necessary and it had an impact. And hopefully it'll set the tone for future politicians to realize we got to listen to what the people want, what they feel like is missing, versus, as I feel like the candidates we have now are telling us what they want, not what we want.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That you're picking projects based on impact, and you're really making a difference. Because you're not just limiting yourself to one particular industry, but working one on one with the clients. You know, and and you said something that I didn't want to glance over. You know, you said the loss of a mentor
Mhm.
made you have to step up your own game.
Yes.
You know, and you know that's real because a lot of us lose our mentors and we don't know what to do, right? We begin to panic, especially one that was as hands on as Bernie was, right? I don't think he ever slept. So I know I could call him at 12 o'clock midnight and it still sound like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, So having someone like him that was so accessible, when he left us unexpectedly, you know, what did how did that affect you personally? And then how did that affect your business?
Well, it impacted my business in the sense that I had to step up and I actually had to fill those shoes, and it was good for me in the sense of how it affected my business. Which I'll give you a good analogy. Like if you got anybody has kids, when you're home with the kids and you see them every day, you don't realize how much they're growing. Of course, when your parents come or somebody comes who haven't seen the kids in a month, they say, "Man, that kid is really grown." Or if you go away for a week or so on a trip, you'll come back and be like, "Man, this kid is grown." A lot of times we don't see our own growth. It's not till we step away from something that we start to see the growth. And that's kind of what happened with me. I was great at consulting and helping people because I had done it for years in the real estate game. I was doing it in the business game, but I was relying on him to paint the big vision and the strategy. And once he was no longer there, I had to see my own growth and say, you know what? You can do this. You could step up to the plate and actually step in and do the same thing that you was going to somebody else for. And I started to do it and do it well.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you've been painting a big picture, for Ron Isley and the Liquid Gold, and really watching you guys build that out, from concept to creation, from creation to consumption. You guys are really making some amazing things happen, getting the word out without relying solely on the name Ron Isley. The actual product itself is a great product, you know. So, did you guys do tasting? How do you come up with a product like a contagious?
Ron had always wanted a cognac or brandy, and he has been traveling the world tasting some of the best cognacs and brandy. So when I was able to meet Vanessa through Trina Braxton, if you guys know Trina from the Braxton show, they're cousins, and she's cousins with Tony as well. And I flew to New York. I had a chance to spend some time with Vanessa. Loved her energy, loved her personality. Matter of fact, just talked to her within the last hour as we're working on a couple of projects. Then Ron and Candy came up, who's Ron's wife, and they tasted some different versions. They was able to work with Vanessa to figure out something that fits Ron's taste, and the taste that they came up with was perfect. And the taste also too, because Candy tried it, we knew it was something that women would like. It wasn't just, I didn't want something strong, aggressive, or we didn't want something strong, aggressive. We wanted something that women would enjoy and men would enjoy as well. Because the majority of women don't drink brown liquor. They don't like brown liquor. It's always harsh to them. They feel like it's an old stuffy white man's drink. Not this drink. They love it. So we've had an amazing response from women and people all around the country for this brand. So yeah, great tasting brand.
Yes, yes. I'm not much of a drinker, but I've enjoyed, you know, my sips of, some contagious, so it's been an amazing thing. But you have been doing outside of your work with Ron Isley, you are doing some amazing work right now to help entrepreneurs get access to capital to build their businesses, for real estate investors to be able to do more. So I'd love to make sure that we deep dive into that, because we we don't want to stop before we switch and change our hats, before we turn our hat to the back. We want to make sure anyone who wants to do some business with Dr. Joe White as a consultant, right? How would they reach out to you to reach out to you to get on your calendar, possibly uh learn more, possibly even do business with you?
So the best thing to do is email me, joewhite462 at gmail.com. My son is redoing my website. But again, I'm one of those people, when you know who I am, then that's when you know how to get to me. I don't market, I don't advertise. I only take on a few people. Again, it has to be something that I feel like this is a good fit. I'm passionate about it, and it's somebody I enjoy working with. I normally work with only about 15 to 20 entrepreneurs at a time. But I mean, I help with things as far as the strategy of the business, how to build the business, how to make it sure it can be a multi-million-dollar business, and how to separate yourself from the business. Most entrepreneurs have a problem of they are the business, so they own a job. One of the things I specialize is you need the systems in the place so that the business runs separate from you. So I'll meet a lot of entrepreneurs who will name a business after themselves, and I'll say, well, how do you sell that? Because there has to be an exit strategy when you have a company. You're either going to sell the company, you're going to go public, or you're going to pass it down, or you're going to go out of business. And you need to decide that during the first week when you start to decide to go in business, because the exit is just as important as the start. And so that's one of the things that I strategize and I help my clients with. A lot of times I help them with the major problem of funding. So one of the major reasons why businesses fail is they're underfunded. They don't have enough money. They're bootstrapping. They're doing things and trying to be creative in order to make things work versus not having the right money for marketing, not being able to pay a team, and they're doing everything themselves. So, I have the ability to broker loans, SBA loans. Uh, if you want to do commercial loans, buy buildings. So I have a company that does that called the DRJ Group. Of course, I have the ability to do the consulting to help you prepare for the loans or how to structure the business. And then also have the knowledge to help you if you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell stock in my company and I'm going to raise money so that I don't have to worry about paying a monthly payment every month. So I have that ability too to show them how to raise money through stock and investments and equity.
That's awesome. And that's important because most companies don't, understand what it looks like to do a capital raise. A lot of times we get into trouble, right? Because we're not properly structured in order to get the money that we want. Let me say that for us again, right? We are
Mhm.
not properly structured in order to get the money that we want. So I love that you talked about, you help people understand, you know, how to get money, right? Because that isn't I think there's questions on which type of money you want to get, right?
Yeah.
Because there is most of us learn, the first part of OPM, right? Which is earning, trading, hours for dollars, trading services for dollars, trading time for dollars. But most of us don't ever get to understand or master the other three versions of OPM, right? Giving, which is sponsorships and grants, credit, which is credit cards, credit lines, loans,
and then investment, understanding what it takes to be able to go raise um capital. I mean, I know we were blessed to be in the room when Marlon Paul's first, you know, introduced Regulation A, which allowed, the non-accredited investors to start to
Yeah,
invest.
regulation
You
C
know,
up. Yes.
but yes, so when Marlon, you know, again, God rest Bernie's soul. We got to hear about that 2 days before it went to market,
Yeah.
because of the access that that conference provided, and then I love that you are taking that knowledge and allowing others to benefit, right? Because what do you think of one of the major obstacles or one of the major ways that we trip up over our feet, when thinking about raising capital?
Well, I think one of the first things we got to understand is when we need to raise capital, if we need to raise capital, how much capital we need to raise. And what we have to understand is when we get capital from investors, we're giving up a percentage of ownership in our company in exchange for getting that capital. And so, what you were talking about, the regulation CF in 2012, Obama released the Jobs Act. And the Jobs Act basically allowed unaccredited or smaller investors to invest in startups. See, a lot of times people I always hear people talk about compound interest and how that's going to make me rich and invested in the stock market. But when a stock is already on the market, it's always going to have a certain amount of growth that it is going to get. So a lot of times you don't get those maximum returns like the people who invested in the Ubers and the Facebooks and the Googles and all those are getting because they invest in the startup. And a lot of times they're getting a 20 times their investment return. Meaning if you they invested $100,000, you're getting $200,000 back. Not 200, I'm sorry, $2 million back. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
that's an amazing amount of return. And so the Jobs Act allowed smaller investors to do that as well. So a lot of times, I mean, if you need $1 million, $2 million, it may be that you don't have to go to the big investor who's going to scrutinize the idea, who's going to negotiate on what you feel like the value of your company is. You can go to a lot of smaller investors, mom and pop people who have 401ks, people have regular jobs, and they may invest $2,000 a piece, and you may get 100 of them, but it may be easier, better for you to raise through that avenue than it is to go to just larger investors, depending on what the project is. And that's, again, if I'm consulting, those are things we look at. What is the best way of raising money? How much money do you need? I'm working currently with a water company, and I did not know that there's so much going on with water right now. That the water we drink is not healthy, that, water can be tweaked in different ways to do different things, such as, say, for instance, you have a restaurant and you want to make sure that your water for your fountain drinks gets you more, lasts more for the serve that you have. I mean, there's so many things I'm learning about water, but they want to raise money. And so I'm working with them in order to raise money. But again, we had to ask the same question: how much do you need? Um, what are you going to do with the money? And then we have to plan out their evaluation and walk them through the actual steps. So that's part of what I do as a consultant.
That is awesome because most people don't know, how much money they need. We go into a lot of these situations blind and then expect success instead of going into them with a real plan. And I love what you said in the beginning. You know, um, you should start with the end in mind. One of the things we talk about all the time, is, people who name companies after themselves, and how hard that is to sell, later on in life. What, I have a friend right now who named his company so and so and Sons, but the sons hate the business. So what do you do now? Right? They don't. I'm not gonna put his name out there because I don't want to hurt his feelings. Right? But so and sons. Right? The sons don't want the business. The sons don't want anything to do with the business. And because he named it after him and his sons, it's been harder for him to sell because someone else doesn't want to wear the name of his family, right? They don't want to wear the name of his sons, so understanding, what is the legacy of that business, because not every business is going to be handed down. You know, one of the reasons we don't have one Paz Simpson Incorporated, right, is because I didn't know if any of my children would be interested in what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? It's great to say, because we're great people, right? Our kids are gonna follow in our footsteps and they're gonna wanna blah blah blah, But you have adult children now, Joe. I mean, how many of them do exactly what you do?
My son is kind of 2.0. He has a marketing firm, so he does something similar. My daughter is a lawyer. My the other teachers, their daughter is a teacher, and my other son does something in the service area. But I mean, yeah, they don't want to do exactly what I do. If it was real estate or something, they may would take it over. But I agree, most kids don't want to do it. It's a whole different world. A lot of the jobs and the things that exist now may not exist in the same way as we know it now.
Yeah.
That's one of the things too I keep preaching to people is when AI, robots, technology is about to change the way the world works. And that's
Yeah.
something we have to consider as we're starting to move forward and plan these businesses that we have. I mean, they've got automated cars now that you can buy and rent out as taxis. They don't work across the country yet, but they will eventually be everywhere across the country. They got AI capable robots that can do all kinds of things. You've seen those that Elon Musk came out with those. You got McDonald's now that no longer need but one worker, if that one worker. I mean, just so many things are changing in the world right now. We got to be aware of that and plan for that.
And that's so true because there are kids who think they're going to be able to graduate from high school and go work at McDonald's because that's what their mamas did, that's what their fathers did. But those jobs aren't available as much, right? Service jobs are going to be um or at least low level service jobs are going to start to be eliminated by robots and other situations. So we have to level up our skills. So I'm glad that you're saying that, because you're someone who I've watched, level up your skill, in the last, few years. So when you think about a skill or skill set that you may decide to level up on? How do you choose, right? Where you want to put your focus and how does that help you as a business leader, as a consultant, so forth and so on.
So the greatest skill and talent I believe that everybody should have as an entrepreneur is your ability to maintain and build relationships. Relationships to me are an invisible currency that's worth more than money. Because if people know you, like you, and trust you, they're going to always do more for you than money can ever make them do. And so that's one of the things that I work really well on is building those teams, keeping the teams moving, making sure that I'm always in contact with people. I'm trying to keep them motivated. I'm always touching base with everybody. Hey, this is what's going on. This is exciting. I'm really big on the relationships. Again, I'm working on a project that's last minute. I got like 7, 8 days to get this project done. It was my relationship for me to be able to call people and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on in this city. Can we get this done? And all of a sudden it's coming together and I'm only been working on 2, 3 hours. But that's because the relationship. Normally, if I didn't have that relationship, they said, man, this is last minute. And I don't do last minute stuff. I don't want to even be involved with it. This is stressful. No, they say, okay, we appreciate you, Joe. This is you treat us well. Let me get on it.
Yeah. One of the things that I always say, the two most important things in life is information and relationships. Information and relationships, right? The information to be able to apply and the relationships that's going to allow you to apply it, right? Because you can know everything in the world. If nobody lets you in the room, it doesn't even matter. Right? If no one lets you in the room, it doesn't even matter. So I'm glad that you talked about cultivating relationships because I think that's probably one of the most important things that any business person can do. So when you are cultivating a relationship, what do you think is the most important thing that you do or an entrepreneur can do?
I think you come in looking at how you can give versus what you can take. I think The person that's not great at relationships figure out what can I get from this person or this situation that benefits me. For me, I always look as how can I benefit you? What can I do to help you? Because that's how the world works. Most of the time, everybody's coming taking and what can I get? Let me get this from you. No. A lot of times you disarm people and they really start to like you when you say, okay, what can I help you with? How can I serve you? Remember, we that was one of the things that we did at CEO Space. First thing we would always ask people, how can I serve you? I think we need to come as leaders from a place of service, helping people, uh, again, making that impact that I keep talking about. And I think that's when people be like, all right, this is a genuine person. He's not looking to use me. He's not looking to just get something from me. He's looking to give to whatever I'm dealing with. And then like, can we do something that's mutually beneficial? I'm big on, hey, let's form a win-win. Let's both win off this transaction. What can I give to you that's going to make what I want a win for you as well?
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna plus you and add one, right?
Go ahead.
I like a win-win-win situation, right? A win for you, a win for me, but a win for us, right? Something that keeps us connected, right? Because what happens a lot of times with just a win-win situation, we begin to become selfish,
Mhm.
right? Because there's nothing that binds us. So what's the win for us? You know,
Yep.
and I always thank Bernie, since for making me see that. You know, one of the things he did was he entrusted me with a large, territory when I didn't know or didn't think I was ready. And he said, "You got this." So once you have someone else's trust and belief in you, right, it's easier for you to execute, but to create that win-win-win situation so that people don't become selfish, right? We remain somewhere always in a loving and caring situation. But there's some other things I did that you said that I didn't want to pass off, right? You know, because my brother used to get mad at me. You know, my brother Robert. And you know my brother Robert well. You know,
Love
uh,
Robert.
he used to always get mad at me because I used to always say I only hang out with billionaires.
Hmm.
Everybody else, we need to be working. And he said, "How could you say that? You don't have $1 billion." I said, "Yeah, that's why I said everybody else, we need to be working." You know, but you said you had 4 billionaires in your phone. I You got one more than me because I lost one along the way. So uh to death, unfortunately, God rest his soul. So 4 billionaires in your phone, that actually pick up your phone calls, answer your phone calls, and respond to you just like you would respond to me. How does that feel, first of all? And second, how do you how do you think you were able to build relationships with such, wealthy folk?
I think that when you start doing good work, people notice and people tell other people that you do good work. So working with a guy like Ron, and he tells XYC celebrity, "Hey, Joe is doing this work for me, and he does a great job." Then that celebrity, I start talking to them, and it's amazing who's in my phone now. I think the other thing too with these billionaires a lot of times are at the right time at the right place to enter a certain market, and then they work hard and they work consistent. Um, and that's the common denominator that I'm seeing with all these billionaires, except for one who inherited a bunch of money, then kind of built on it from there. But that's the common denominator. They're all very humble people, and you know what? The crazy thing is, now none of the billionaires I can think of, except for maybe one, wears like a lot of jewelry that's flashy and has to, show certain cars. Some of them drive, a lot of them drive normal cars on a regular basis. They don't even flex like that. Um, it's like, I think it was Kanye. He talked about his chain. He said, "Hey, millionaires wear this chain and these jewelry and things like that. Billionaires don't do that." So I think that's some of the common denominators I see amongst my billionaire friends. They don't have to
Well,
flash.
that's the realest thing. I remember,
one time I did an event in New York City, and we did it at the Roosevelt Hotel, big, you know, beautiful hotel downtown, and all the New York Knicks were in the building. It's a big celebrity party and everything, and the one lady ran up to ran up to the Knicks, and she was wondering why all the Knicks was running up, to this one guy who was dressed plainly, and he had on just all black, black leather pants. I mean, black leather jacket, black pants, black, just all black. And the ladies were like, they're all walking up to you like you're the celebrity. He's like, yeah, because if you add all of them up, he's like, yeah, he's like, that's a bad year for me. He's like, she's like, huh? He's like, yeah, if you add all of them up, that's a bad year for me. So, you know, knowing and understanding those things is totally different, right?
Yeah, I'm learning past, as I go through the different levels up the ladder. I've now kind of started getting to the levels that are so high that's the average person doesn't reach. But at the same time, what's there isn't as amazing as you would think. Give you an example. I went to a very exclusive club, and they gave me a $500 Wagyu steak, and I didn't like it. It was mushy, it was soft. At some point the level it gets exotic, and that's not as great as to me some of the other levels or the levels before. I like a regular steak, a New York strip is I like the texture better. And I'm starting to notice that. Or I was in Detroit and we was riding in a Rolls Royce and it was bumpier than my Lexus. So, it those levels sometimes, yeah, for me, I'm down to earth anyway. I'm normal. I enjoy the time I have around, the people I have around. The one good thing about they love about me is I'm still gonna tell it how it is. I'm not gonna be fake. I'm not a yes man. That's another reason why if I work, I come in as an owner. I don't come in as an employee because that allows me to tell you what I really think. And you can't fire me. We're partners. Um, I'm not just working for you. Now I'm still gonna keep service in mind, and I'll do whatever it takes. If I'm at a business and I'm an owner, it can be a multi-million-dollar business. I'll sweep the floor, I'll mop the floor, I'll clean the bathroom, I'll do whatever. I'm still got a service mentality, but I'm gonna be able to tell you what I think because otherwise I can't give you the right advice.
That's so important. That's so important to understand what it takes for you to be most successful in the positioning that you're taking on. I think a lot of times we take on jobs, contracts, positions that don't fit us, and then we wonder why it fails. So I love that you understand for you to be able to be most effective, in most cases, you take on an ownership percentage. So that is definitely an amazing space, But I love that you're also helping uh entrepreneurs and business owners get funding. They don't always have to be a direct consulting client from you in order to get funding and lending, from you and your team. So what made you get into the financing of projects, businesses, real estate? What made you dive into that side?
Well, many years ago, I was a mortgage broker, and during the residential loan boom, and when interest rates were in the eights and they started coming down. Um, but one of the things I started realizing, I was helping people raise money through equity, but I know I needed other resources because not all the time raising money through equity is the right approach. And so I had a client who had a veterans home. He took an old nursing home and turned it to a veterans home. He needed $3 million. I was able to broker and get him a loan, and it was a really good commission. And I said, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to be doing more of this. So I actually, did some research. I bought a commercial loan brokerage franchise um, with the proceeds from that particular deal. And since then, I've got several people that are working in that franchise, and we still do loans, and we've got quite a few loans working on, from SBA loans to somebody's buying recording studios, or somebody who's doing some $1 million property deals. Um, but I'm always getting people coming through that need some type of funding or financing. Plus, one of my clients and friends and partners is Derek Whitehead. And Derek does things like credit repair. He does corporate credit and stuff like that. And he's been able to send me a lot of clients that I've been able to help, because he's the top wealth coach on the internet. So he's always got people who need some type of funding. So it's just it's worked out well for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love that you guys do so many types of funding. You know, uh, not just commercial business, but you also do real estate, you do bridge loans, you do uh a number of different ways for anyone who's actually looking to expand their reach or their business to, you know, because you also do stuff based on their revenue. Like, you have a number of ways that people can get to the money. So I love that you have eliminated the obstacles, or as many of the obstacles I can say, because not everybody can get a dollar.
Yeah.
But I love that you've eliminated so many obstacles, or come up with so many different ways for business leaders, owners, real estate investors to get, access to money. So my question is for you, if someone was looking to get started today, with, their next steps, whether it's getting funding, whether it's raising capital, whether it's, just expanding the business, what do you think they should be considering first before they make a real major move?
I think that we need to do a strategy session. Normally what I do with people is I do the free 30-minute strategy session, where we look at what's going on in the business, what your idea, your concept is. We figure out what fits best. Because a lot of times the type of business you have is really not the type of business you think you have. I was there was a person, I'm trying not to give away the concepts, so I'm thinking about how to present it. But they had a service business where they provided this service to hotels and different stuff like that. And I say, really, what you don't have a service business, you have a technology business, because you would have put this in an app form and do this way with an app, opposed to just doing it the way you're doing it now manually. You could have this franchised, or you could have this all around the country, and that will multiply your dollars. One of the biggest things that I teach people about is what I call the multiplier effect. Multiplier effect is, how do we take what you're doing now and multiply it times 50 or 100, but we do that without you having to put the actual work in. That you're not actually the one pushing the buttons. You're not actually the one doing the work. So that's super important. The other thing is too, let's build multiple streams of income into your business. Every big business to me should have at least 7 different streams of income, because no matter what happens, the economy, something's going to happen where one stream of income is going to go down. You need something else that's going to go up, or going to sustain you in the meantime. So part of the strategies that I do is I always look for, hey, what else can we do? So if you got a certain type of business where you provide a product, yeah, you should be selling that product. Can we sell merchandise? Can we add any services or maintenance to that product? Can we do monthly gift box subscriptions, memberships? What can we do to increase that income so that you're making multiple money from the same customers? Because the customer acquisition cost to get a customer is high. But how can we take that same customer and make at least 7 streams of income out of it? So those are things that I specialize in, that I work on with a lot of clients. And then also too, building the brand story. What connects you to the people is the story that you tell about you and your business and why it's so important. I tell you, somebody who's done that in a masterful way is Fawn Weaver. She owns Uncle Nearest, and she's told an amazing story about the guy who taught Jack Daniels how to distill liquor. And it's such an interesting story that has garnered her free press, which has been turned into free marketing that's helped her turn into a $1 billion company in 5 years.
I didn't realize that it became $1 billion company that quick. But
One of the
I've
billionaires I
heard
got
that,
in my phone.
and I've learned that story. I love that story, because I've told that story because it's a Black history fact. You know, a lot of times, we are not told, especially now in today's climate. We're not, a lot of our history is being erased. So to be able to know that, that's why, what I love most about Ron Isley's Contagious, outside that, Vanessa is like my big sister, shout out to Vanessa Braxton, that it is a totally Black owned brand, right? The distiller is Black. Everything about it is, which is different than some of the other um alcohol labels that are out there, right? There are other brands that are out there, and there's nothing wrong with wherever you get your grapes from, however you do it. It is just great to see, you know, a group of people that look like us able to work together to build a multi-million dollar, hopefully $1 billion corporation.
We do have a white board member and owner. We call him White Chocolate, but he's a good guy. His name is Harold Lewis, and Harold used to own Great Clips, if you remember Great Clips, and now he's one of the top sports agents in the NFL. But one of the things that happen in the liquor industry, most of the people you see aren't owners; they're brand ambassadors. They're the ones who market, really bring awareness to the brand. It's like Puffy was with Ciroc. He made a lot of money, but he didn't own Ciroc. Matter of fact, the whole issue with Puffy was they marketed Ciroc in all areas as he was the brand ambassador and they owned it. When he started his own brand, his tequila, I forgot what it's called, begins with a D. They didn't market it in nothing but the urban areas. And that's why he sued Diageo. But that's the brand he owned. And if you don't own a brand, you can't sell it, you can't transfer it, you can't go public. You basically can just get a salary based off what sales you bring to the company. But you want the ability to be able to sell it or pass it down or give it to the next generation. You need that option. And a lot of Afro Americans have not put themselves in a position to have that option with a lot of their businesses.
And I love that you say that because I didn't realize how many people were just brand ambassadors until I met Vanessa.
Mhm.
And she gave me the lesson of my life. It's like because she was like, I'm the first. And when I started to do my history, and yeah, she was the first Black woman distiller in the country, and there's so many other firsts that she's done. So for you guys to all come together, and again, this is definitely not an anti-white thing, because my brother Paul Hoyt and I wrote racial, killing racism together. I don't get too caught up in separation, right? But this is also talking about an elevation, right? Because we are left out of so many industries and we aren't owners in so many industries. So to see you guys create ownership, create equity to inspire that next generation, right, to do the same, right? That we don't have to only be brand ambassadors, right? We don't only have to shuck and jive in front the cameras. We actually can be the guy. We can be the Joe Whites, right? Behind the scenes that make a brand work. We don't have to worry about, someone getting mad at us and only distributing our alcohol in the urban areas because we own our brand. We decide where it's going. We're determining, its reach. So that in itself is amazing. So if no one has tipped their hat to you guys, let me be the first to tip my hat and give you guys an applause, right? Because it is an amazing thing. But I told you this hour would go quickly.
Oh yeah.
You know, even with the technical difficulties and you being able to hold me down for that 2 or 3 minutes. I mean,
That's what
I'm
we do for
still,
each other.
I still don't have, you still don't get the full view of this dope outfit, but
Okay.
it's okay. It's all right. We made it work because we don't gotta be perfect. We just gotta get started. We gotta make sure that we get the people what they want, what they need, so that they have good food, right, for their minds and souls. So, um, we have about 5 minutes left. So I want you to be able to tell people, you know, where they can find you again. you know, I want you to tell them, if you want to get a loan through Joe, you can't go to his website. So since his website's not up, you can go to joyfulfunds.com. You can go to my team and we'll get you to Joe. You
No
know.
problem.
But yes, please tell them how they can find you, some of the projects that you're working on, or anything it is that you want them to know right now about Dr. Joe White and what he has
Well,
on the table.
well, definitely. First, I would say go to ronaldisleyliquidgold.com. Get yourself a bottle of brandy. It's amazing. You'll thank me later. It's going to be the smoothest brandy you ever tasted. It's quickly becoming America's most loved brandy. If you like cognac, um, this is going to be amazing for you because, like I said, it's smooth. There's no aggression. There's no bite. Just amazing. Um, You can always email me at joewhite462@gmail.com. I'd be happy to do a free 30-minute consult, listen to what you're doing in your business, give you feedback, ideas, structure, strategy, try to help you apply the multiplier effect so that you make more money. If it is that you need money, we can look at what fits best. Do you need a loan? Do you need debt? Do you need equity? What fits better for your particular situation? My main thing is I want to help. I want to make an impact, and that's not a price tag just attached to that. So whenever I talk to people past, I always tell them this is going to be like drinking from a fire hose because I'm gonna try to give you as much as I can in that 30 minutes. Because I really ultimately what I want to do is I want you to say to yourself, if I got this much in 30 minutes from him, what am I going to get if I hire him as a consultant? And then from there, if it's a fit for me and I feel passionate about it, then we'll move forward to the next step. But I love giving, I love helping, I love strategizing. Um, I think it's a gift that I got from God, and Bernie had it, and then I didn't realize that. I think he kind of passed it on until later because I started to do what Bernie would do, which is I can hear a business idea and then start to see the potential and then all the different strategies and streams that come from that particular business idea. And it's almost instant. It's almost spiritual. Um, I'm very good at picking up on the spiritual energy of the people I work with. And people don't realize that that's, very important because a lot of times your energy has to match the path that you said you're on. Because every path isn't for everybody. And sometimes it's just not a fit. And if it's not a fit, and like I say, again, that's where it doesn't fit the impact for me, then I'm not involved in it. But again, I find joy in helping people. I love what I do. What I do, I would do for free. I do it for free on a lot of occasions because I just want to help people. Just like you. You help people all the time, Paz. You're amazing. You connect people. You help people. I love you for it. It's like I said, that's when I don't do a lot of interviews. When Paz called, and I jump because, man, you're my brother, and I love all that you do for everybody.
Oh man, I'm humbled. We're just out here. I'm the living legacy of what Bernie left. So I he poured something into me. And I always say this to people, right? You have the opportunity to live out the love that you've received, right? So live that love out and give that love out. So we're at our final minute, unfortunately. So I want you to join us in our ritual. So what we do every week, right, is we have our personal manifesto. So we ask everyone to say it with us. I'm going to say it for you, and then I ask you to repeat it,
All
right?
right.
And that's how we basically sign off. So our personal manifesto is this: I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So, ready? I
Yeah.
love
Love
me.
me.
I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here.
Yeah, I love it. I love that.
Yes, and we are glad that you are here, Joe White. We were glad that you spent an hour with us sharing, caring, and spreading some love. We are grateful for everything that you've said. So we will give you the final word.
Man, Press, I just say I'm glad to be here. You and I are working on some great things today together. Also, that I didn't mention the Wealth Without Risk tour with Derek Whitehead, which is going to be in February. It looks like Miami. That's going to be a huge event. I'm grateful for you being my brother, man, and I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man. The pleasure was all mine. The pleasure was all mine. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to get started. If you like what we're talking about here, please like, share, and subscribe.